What do you do when heaven feels silent? What do you do when the promise God gave you still hasn't come to pass? You prayed until your tears ran dry. You believed when everything in you wanted to give up. And yet, nothing has changed. Child of God, listen to me. When it looks like God is late, He's not abandoning you. He's setting the stage for a miracle so big that the world will know it was Him. Have you ever stood in the quiet of your room, staring at the ceiling, wondering why heaven feels silent? Have you ever prayed until your voice cracked, cried until your eyes were swollen, and still nothing happened? Have you ever watched the days turn into weeks, the weeks into months, the months into years, and the promise God gave you still hasn't come to pass? There is a unique ache in waiting. Waiting has a way of pressing on the deepest parts of your soul. It can stir questions you never thought you'd ask. Did God hear me? Did I misunderstand Him? Did I miss my moment? You prayed for healing, but the diagnosis didn't change. You prayed for provision, but the bills still stacked higher. You prayed for restoration, but the relationship broke further apart. And in the middle of this, the enemy slips in like a thief in the night to whisper lies into your spirit. If God cared, He would have answered by now. If God was powerful, you wouldn't still be here. If God loved you, you wouldn't still be waiting. Oh, I know the sting of that whisper. I know the way it tries to wrap itself around your faith like a snake trying to choke the hope right out of you. But I came to declare this truth. God's delay is not God's denial. The Bible tells us in 2 Peter 3:8-9, but do not forget this one thing, dear friends, with the Lord a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years are like a day. The Lord is not slow in keeping His promise, as some understand slowness. Instead, He is patient with you. God does not measure time like we do. He is not bound by the ticking of our clocks or the flipping of our calendars. He is the author of time. Time bows to Him, not the other way around. What feels like a delay to you is an on-time delivery in the eternal schedule of heaven. Look at Abraham and Sarah. God promised them a son, yet 25 years passed before Isaac's cry filled their home. Did they get discouraged? Yes. Do they wonder if they misunderstood? Absolutely. But the promise came exactly when God intended. Look at Moses, called to deliver Israel from Egypt, yet 40 years spent tending sheep in the backside of the desert before facing Pharaoh. Was that wasted time? No, it was preparation. God was shaping a deliverer in the wilderness before He sent him into the palace. Look at David, anointed as king while still a shepherd boy, yet hunted and hiding in caves for years before he wore the crown. Every delay was a shaping ground. Every pause was a lesson in trust, humility, and endurance. You see, when God seems late, He's not ignoring you. He's preparing you. He's aligning people, places, and circumstances you don't even know exist. He's weaving a tapestry where every thread, even the dark ones, will make sense when you see the whole picture. The delay is the workshop of God's greatest masterpieces. It is the forge where faith is purified, where character is strengthened, and where you learn to walk by trust, not by sight. And here's the thing, God is not just preparing the blessing for you. He's preparing you for the blessing. If He gave it too soon, you might not be ready to carry it. If He opened the door before its time, you might not be able to stand under the weight of what's on the other side. So instead of seeing the delay as God's absence, see it as God's stage crew, setting the scene, adjusting the lights, arranging the set pieces. Because when the curtain rises, it will be worth every second you waited. I want you to declare this over your life right now. My delay is not my denial. My waiting is not wasted. God is working while I am waiting. If you could pull back the curtain of the unseen, you would discover that your life is not in pause. It is in preparation. What you think is stillness is actually strategy. What you think is silence is actually divine activity hidden from human eyes. From the human perspective, it feels like nothing is moving. The phone doesn't ring. The email doesn't come. The opportunity doesn't appear. But from heaven's perspective, there is a flurry of movement. Angels are being dispatched. Hearts are being stirred, doors are being prepared, and circumstances are being aligned so perfectly that when it happens, you will know without a shadow of a doubt, this was God. Think of Joseph. He had a dream from God, a vision that one day he would rise to a place of great influence. But almost immediately, his life seemed to spiral in the opposite direction. Betrayed by his own brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, falsely accused, forgotten in a prison cell. From the outside, it looked like the dream was dead. It looked like God was late. But what Joseph couldn't see was that every step down was actually a step toward the palace. The pit was positioning, the prison was preparation. The false accusation was part of the plan. Every piece that looked like a setback was actually a setup. And in one single day, one moment, Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister, second only to Pharaoh. That's how God works. He moves in ways that make no sense until you see the full picture. What feels like chaos is often choreography. What feels like random events is actually a divine script unfolding scene by scene. Think of Lazarus. The message came to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. Now, logic would say, if you love him, go right away. But Jesus stayed where he was for 2 more days. And when he finally arrived, Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days. To the family, to the crowd, to everyone watching, it was too late. The story was over. But Jesus wasn't late. He was right on time. He knew that if he came before Lazarus died, he would only be known as a healer. But by waiting, he revealed himself as the resurrection and the life. The delay was not neglect. It was intentional. It was for glory. This is why Isaiah 55:8-9 says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. God's ways are higher. His timing is better. His plans are greater. He sees the end from the beginning, and he knows exactly how to position you for the miracle. Sometimes he hides his work from you because if you saw all the moving parts, you would try to interfere. You would try to rush it. You would try to force it. So instead, he works in the shadows, arranging the scene until the perfect moment when everything is in place. And here's the truth, delayed answers are often connected to multiplied impact. When God waits, it's because what he's doing is bigger than you. The miracle he's preparing is not just for your blessing. It's for the faith of everyone who will witness it. When the Red Sea parted, it wasn't just for Israel's deliverance. It was for Egypt's defeat and for the nations to hear about the God who splits seas. When fire fell from heaven on Mount Carmel, it wasn't just for Elijah's vindication. It was for an entire nation to turn their hearts back to God. So if God seems late in your life, it might be because the story he's writing through you will speak to people you haven't even met yet. Your testimony will be a seed of faith for someone else's miracle. I want you to picture a theater. The audience is seated. The lights are dimmed. The curtain is closed. It looks like nothing is happening. But behind that curtain, the stage crew is moving with urgency. They're changing the set, adjusting the lighting, positioning the actors, making sure every detail is in place. And only when everything is ready will the curtain rise. That's exactly what God is doing for you right now. The stage of your life is being set. The right people are being moved into position. The right opportunities are being prepared. The right resources are being gathered. It may be hidden from your eyes, but it is not hidden from his hand. And when the curtain finally rises, you will realize that every silent season was filled with unseen movement. Every quiet moment was heavy with divine activity. So hold your ground. Keep the faith. Stop letting the enemy use the silence to plant seeds of doubt. Instead, let the silence remind you that the scene change is coming. Let the delay remind you that the designer is at work. And declare this over your life: God is working behind the scenes for my good. I may not see it, I may not hear it, but I believe it, and I will wait until his perfect time. The most difficult part of any journey is not the beginning and not the end, it's the middle. The middle is where your faith is stretched where your patience is tested, where your trust in God is either strengthened or shattered. The middle is the wilderness between Egypt and Canaan. It's the valley between the mountain you left and the mountain you're climbing toward. It's that space where you've left what you knew, but you haven't yet stepped into what God has promised. And in that middle, you will hear two voices. One will say, "Give up, it's not coming." The other will whisper, "Hold on, God is still faithful." Which voice you listen to will determine whether you faint or finish. Faith in the middle doesn't mean you pretend the wait is easy. Faith in the middle doesn't mean you deny your pain. Faith in the middle means you trust God even when nothing makes sense. It means you choose to keep walking when you feel like sitting down. It means you lift your hands in worship when you still see chains on your feet. The psalmist knew this struggle well. Psalm 27, 1-14 says, "I remain confident of this. I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." Wait for the Lord. Be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Notice, strength and courage are required for waiting. Why? Because waiting is warfare. The enemy knows that if he can't destroy you, he will try to drain you. He'll whisper that God has forgotten you. He'll point to the calendar and say, "See, it's too late now." But faith in the middle says, even if I don't see it yet, he's working. Even if I don't feel it, I know he's moving. Even if it hasn't happened, I know it's coming. Hebrews 11 is a chapter full of people who lived in the middle. Noah built an ark when there wasn't a drop of rain. Abraham journeyed to a land he had never seen. Sarah believed for a child when her body was past the age of bearing one. These were men and women who learned that faith is not measured by speed, but by steadfastness. Sometimes the middle will feel like the longest season of your life. That's because God is doing the deep work in the middle. He's not just preparing your blessing, he's preparing you. He's rooting out pride. He's building perseverance. He's teaching you to hear his voice above all others. James 1:3-4 says, "The testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." That's what the middle does. It finishes the work. It shapes you into someone who can carry the weight of what's coming without being crushed by it. Think about a seed planted in the ground. Once it's buried, you can't see it. It looks like nothing is happening, but underground, roots are growing deep. Strength is being formed. Foundations are being set. And when the time is right, the seed will break through the soil, but not before. In the same way, your faith must grow underground before it can bloom in the open. And that underground work happens in the middle, in the silence, in the waiting, in the seasons where it feels like nothing is moving. The temptation in the middle is to quit, to go back to Egypt, because at least there you knew what to expect. But if you go back, you'll miss the promise. If you give up now, you'll never see the Red Sea split. If you stop walking, you'll never see Jericho's walls fall. So in the middle, you must speak life over your own spirit. You must rehearse the promises of God until they drown out the lies of the enemy. You must remind yourself of who he is, even more than what he does. Say it out loud. My God is not a man that he should lie. My God is faithful from generation to generation. My God does not abandon the work of his hands. My God will finish what he started. When you declare truth in the middle, you wage war against doubt. You turn your waiting into worship. You transform your delay into a declaration of trust. And here's the beauty. When you look back after the miracle, you will thank God for the middle. You'll realize it was in the middle that you learned to pray without ceasing. It was in the middle that you learned to worship without evidence. It was in the middle that you learned your faith was not in the gift, but in the giver. So today, if you're in that in-between place, don't despise it. Embrace it. Let it refine you, not define you. Because the God who brought you to the middle will not abandon you here. He will bring you through to the other side, stronger, deeper, and more unshakable than you've ever been before. Declare this now. I will not faint in the middle. I will fight in the middle. I will worship in the middle. My God is still faithful. There will come a moment, not by accident, not by coincidence, but by divine appointment, when the stage that has been hidden will be revealed. The set will be complete, the actors in place, the lights ready, and the curtain will rise on what God has been preparing all along. This moment is called the fullness of time. Galatians 4:4 says, "But when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son, not a moment earlier, not a moment late, but exactly when heaven had determined." Everything God does is in fullness. When the time is right, he will act, and when he acts, it will be undeniable. When that moment comes, things can change in an instant. One phone call can turn your situation around. One open door can shift your entire season. One divine appointment can launch you into the place you've been praying for. The Bible is full of suddenly moments, those divine shifts where God changes everything in a heartbeat. In Acts 2, the disciples were in an upper room, waiting, praying, seeking, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and the Holy Spirit filled the place. In Acts 16, Paul and Silas were chained in a prison, singing hymns at midnight, and suddenly there was a great earthquake and the prison doors flew open. Your suddenly is coming. The curtain will rise, the lights will come on, and everything you've been waiting for will make sense in the light of that moment. And here's the thing, the delay will make the miracle sweeter. The silence will make the shout louder. The pain will make the praise deeper. When you hold the promise in your hands, you'll realize it was worth every tear, every prayer, every sleepless night. Think about Sarah holding Isaac for the first time. Do you think she remembered the decades of barrenness? Yes. But now they were colored by joy. Think about Joseph sitting in Pharaoh's palace, feeding the nations. Do you think he remembered the pit and the prison? But now they were proof of God's perfect timing. Think about Lazarus walking out of that tomb, still wrapped in grave clothes. Do you think he remembered the sickness and the stench of death? Yes, but now they were the backdrop for the glory of God. When the curtain rises, you will understand what you couldn't before. You will see that if it had happened earlier, you wouldn't have been ready. If it had come sooner, it wouldn't have been complete. God was not withholding from you. He was preparing something greater than you imagined. And let me tell you this, when God reveals what he's been working on, it will not just bless you, it will bless everyone who witnesses it. Your testimony will be a lighthouse for those still in the storm. Your breakthrough will be proof that waiting on God is never wasted. Isaiah 6:22 says, "When the time is right, the Lord, will make it happen." Did you catch that? When the time is right, not when you feel ready, not when you think you've waited long enough, but when heaven's clock strikes the appointed hour, and when that hour comes, he will make it happen. You won't have to force it. You won't have to manipulate it. You won't have to beg for it. It will come with such clarity, such certainty, such divine orchestration that you will know, this is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in my eyes. So what do you do while you wait for the curtain to rise? You worship, you pray, you stay faithful in the little things. You keep your lamp full of oil like the wise virgins in Matthew 25, ready for the bridegroom's arrival. You stay positioned so that when your moment comes, you are standing in the right place at the right time with the right heart. Because here's the truth, when the curtain rises, it will happen so quickly that you won't have time to prepare then. You must prepare now. You must live ready. You must walk in expectation, not desperation. So today, I speak this over your life. The delay is almost over. The setup is complete. The stage is ready. The curtain is about to rise, and your miracle is about to walk into the spotlight. Hold on just a little longer. Stay faithful just a little stronger. Keep your eyes fixed on Jesus, because the one who promised is faithful, and he will do it. And when it happens, when the breakthrough comes, when the answer arrives, when the miracle manifests, fall on your knees and give him the glory. Tell your story. Shout it from the rooftops. Let the world know my God is never late. He's always on time. And while I was waiting, he was setting the stage. Right now, I dare you to look at your delay and declare, this is not the end. My God is working. The stage is being set. My miracle is coming in His perfect time. Let this truth sink into your spirit. Share it, speak it, live it, and watch how heaven responds.